This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers set their initial 53-man roster yesterday, but it's already undergoing some changes. According to Sports Illustrated, the team is signing former Chargers linebacker Nick Niemann. He's been mostly a special teams player in his career after being a fifth-round pick out of Iowa. The team is also added another quarterback to its practice squad in Clayton Tune. He was with Arizona the last 2 seasons. Meanwhile, the Badgers, they're going to be opening their season tomorrow night against Miami of Ohio. Wisconsin, a 17.5-point favorite, but has plenty to prove after going 5-7 last year and missing a bowl game for the first time since 2001. Picked to finish 12th in the 18-team Big Ten this year. But center Jake Renfro says all that outside noise just fine.
We know we got a chip on our shoulder because, nobody's talking about us. No one cares about us. And that's okay. That's totally fine. We know what we did last year. We know what happened. But this is where we go show the world what we are, who we are now, and what we can do. So, yes, we still have a chip on our shoulder. We're ready to get out there rolling. We're ready to hit somebody else. It's been a long 8 months hitting our own guys. So we're ready to get out there and roll and have some fun with each other.
Again, Wisconsin and Miami, Ohio going to play tomorrow night at Camp Randall. Work.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers won't have closer Trevor McGill for a bit, placed on the 10-day IL with a flexor strain. Milwaukee and Arizona facing off in the third game of their series tonight. First pitch, 6:40. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, print.
I'm not going to ask about anybody specific. I know better than that. But philosophically, you were in on Khalil Mack a few years ago, right? Mm-hmm. I'm curious, when it comes to really bold strokes, how do you view those? How do you view them as a risk? How do you view them as a reward? How do you kind of process ideas like that if you want to get involved in them?
Yeah. I think you got to, first of all, it's your team and how certainly every decision affects your football team. Obviously, there's so many different factors in it, who the player is, medical, certainly, cap-wise. But, yeah, I think, you have to look at everything. Any opportunity to help your football team, you have to, look at and discuss as a group. And we do that all the time. I mean, we do, it's almost daily, you know what I mean? I think what someone might consider a bold move, someone else might not, you know what I mean? We signed a practice squad guy today. I might consider that a bold move, you know what I mean? I think every opportunity that's out there to help your football team, we've always taken a look at, try to see how it affects us right now, how does it affect us in the future, and make the best decision we can.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Quite a difference between tonight and last night. I was just in a horrible mood yesterday. Office politics. We don't need to get back into that. It was also kind of a slow news day. The Brewers had won a game. Nice. Packers roster cutdowns, which has the potential to be juicy, but I don't really want to talk about Micah Robinson versus Kalen King. These are bottom of the roster guys for a reason. So nothing especially sexy. Oh, they cut Isaiah Simmons and Mecole Hardman. Well, Mecole Hardman's back on the practice squad, which I guess isn't shocking. I just figured he's been a pro wide receiver. He's won Super Bowls. I didn't think he was practice squad fodder, but I guess that happened today. So last night, not the juiciest show in the world. Tonight, holy balls, a bunch of Brewers transactions. Zach gave you an update in that update. And I don't know if you noticed, but the entire football world and most of the internet last night was zeroed in on this Micah Parsons to Green Bay deal that was potentially on the table. So that's where I want to begin. A lot to get to tonight, including 2 guests. Jesse Temple is going to be here for the last 10 minutes of this hour to preview the Badger season, which begins tomorrow night at Camp Randall against Miami, Ohio. And then in hour number 2 at 5:30, Mike Clemens is going to be here to help recap what he heard and what he saw at 1265 Lambeau today, because Brian Gutekunst spoke. That's what you heard in the intro. And Matt LaFleur spoke as well. So we'll get the latest on roster cutdowns and what he heard at those pressers from the Packers decision makers earlier today. I'll make time for your calls as well. 608-321-1670. And you can comment on the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the normal places. even with guests and a loaded rundown, make some time for her calls today, both for the Packers and the Brewers. I want to get right into it. I'll never forget last night. Which is maybe a weird me thing. Like when you talk to people, what nights will you never forget? You know, maybe that night where you did that thing for the first time. Most people remember that. First time I ever saw my favorite movie. First time I ever saw blah, blah, blah. Right? Like big, my wedding night, right? Remember that. Things you never forget. I'm a little weirder and I haven't experienced most of those. I've experienced some of the other examples I just gave. Not all. I'm not married. I'll never forget last night. I've never experienced something like that. For 2 hours, it felt like Micah Parsons was about to be a Packer. It's like, okay, so this is happening. I guess we just wait for the Adam Schefter notification. Like, this is how funny sports fandom and this is how funny the internet can be. I'm not kidding, for a 2-hour window last night, it felt, as I observed, and I think others felt the same way, like it felt like, well, we'll just, only a matter of time now until we get the notification that Micah Parsons has been traded to Green Bay. And now it seems kind of dead. I don't know. Not much has changed. It just feels like the moment has passed, which is kind of insane. We just move on with our life. You know, are we supposed to act like that never happened last night? The only other analogy that I can think of for the phenomenon that I experienced last night is young men talking to their friends about a woman they met. So this is true. This will happen. Ladies, if you're listening, this is 100% true. And guys are going to nod their head. Think back to when you were in college or when you were in your raging bachelor days, hanging out with the fellas. You're all looking for love. And let's say you're at a bar, 4 or 5 of you. And one of the guys gets up, goes to the bathroom, and on the way to the bathroom, bumps into a woman. Make eye contact for half a second, a little smile, a little nod. That's it. The guy is going to get back to his friend group after relieving himself and say, there's a girl down. I think there's something there. Really? What happened? I don't know. It's just a little look. I think I maybe just met my wife, which is insane, but that's how guys operate. You know what I mean? Until they go to the next bar, until, a week later when the exact same thing happens and we move on. That's kind of what it felt like last night. Like there were a couple of tweets that we saw. It's like, I think Micah Parsons is going to be the next Reggie White. It's just a matter of time as to when it happens, which is ridiculous. It started with a Ricky tweet. If you're really an internet degenerate or an NFL degenerate, it's an account that you're probably familiar with. He has broken stories before. He tweeted last night, the Packers have a trade on the table with the Cowboys for Micah Parsons, with a contract worth $45 million per year. Kay Adams, Packer fan, Wisconsin visitor, Fox Valley enjoyer, tweeted, you guys, very cryptic, right? Very leading. John Kuhn even get in on the act. He tweeted, Micah freaking Parsons. Kuhn, subtle, soft touch as always. Like everyone gave the impression that there was real juice to this thing. Even Andy Herman, who's as level-headed as anybody, Pack-A-Day podcast, tweeted last night, like, yeah, guys, I don't know where this is coming from, but I asked around and there's definitely buzz. So we're all observing this. It's like, okay, so where are they going to play him outside? Are they going to, like, he was a Packer. We all thought he was a Packer last night. And I'll play you a couple more comments from Brian Gutekunst on this from earlier this afternoon. But I've heard and I've seen, and I heard it from Bill earlier today too. You hear this a lot anytime the Packers are mentioned in a conversation like this. I hear a lot of people say, well, that's not the Packers way. Or you hear, well, that's not, the Packers would never do something like that. And I guess I just want to ask, like, where does that come from? Where do folks get that? Why do so many people think and talk that way? And we've had this conversation with the Brewers too. Just because they haven't made a move like this, recently at least, doesn't mean they won't. Doesn't mean they can't. Doesn't mean they wouldn't. Eric on I-90, I think so perfectly coined the Packers way of thinking. He refers to it as the 3-ring binder, the way they do business. It was passed from Ron Wolf to Ted Thompson and now to Brian Gutekunst, right? These guys are all just extensions of each other and maybe more modern extensions of each other, which is good because the league has changed a lot since the early 90s. But the Packers once upon a time brought in Reggie White, pretty important piece to a Super Bowl team. They once brought in Charles Woodson, pretty important piece. To a lesser degree, they brought in Julius Peppers, which had they beaten the Seahawks in 2014, we could be talking about Julius Peppers in the same, in the same breath as those two previous names. Those are pretty big swings. Now, you would say, well, Grant, but those were free agent ads. They didn't give up multiple first-round picks. And I would say, okay, good point. But that's a way in which the league has changed. It's way more common in 2025 for players like Reggie White or Charles Woodson, they're modern contemporaries. It's much more common for those types of players these days to get traded than it is for them to hit free agency. This is especially true in the NBA. This is true across sports. Not so much in baseball, but in basketball and football. These guys don't hit free agency anymore. And it kind of sucks because it's really neutered something that used to be really entertaining in the NBA. Like Kevin Durant not that long ago, in his absolute prime, like not his Brooklyn Nets prime or whatever version of him still exists now, which I still think is rather good, but it's not what it was in 2015, 2016. Prime Kevin Durant hit free agency. That's the thing that happened. That's unconscionable these days. That would never happen because these players sign their extensions the moment they're eligible. And then if they're going to get moved, they're traded. So the players get their money, they get their security without ever having to play through the end of a contract and hit the open market. But also it makes more sense for the teams. Like, well, if I'm losing you, I want to get something for you before it happens. So I'll just extend and trade rather than let you play out the contract. That's the modern NFL and the modern NBA. So when you say, well, Reggie White and Charles Woodson, sure, Grant, those were free agents. What I'm telling you is if Reggie White existed today, I don't think he would hit free agency in the way that he did. I think he would extend. And if the team decided that they had enough with him, they would be traded. So I think the Khalil Mack trade or a potential Micah Parsons trade is a much more modern version of what used to be a little bit more common and what, used to not be unheard of for the Packers. If a move like this were to ever happen in Green Bay, a bold move in the words of Jason Wilde, who asked Brian Gutekunst, and I'll play you that whole exchange here in a sec. If a move like that were to happen in Green Bay, it would look something like this, I think. I think the current variables and the current details, the current state of the Packers, the current state of the Micah Parsons situation, like this is how it would look. The Packers are in a place of real urgency. Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst are, for all intents and purposes, in a contract year. Weigh that however you want, but it's a thing. You can assign whatever meaning to that, but you can't ignore it. Recent results, not being able to beat the most elite teams, 2 or 3 of them in their own division, in the Lions and the Vikings. But then the Eagles in their conference. I think the Rams are really good if Matthew Stafford can quite literally stay upright with that back. And then, of course, teams like the Commanders, who are right there. If any team from the NFC South figures it out, that's a team that could be right there. The Niners, if they are, the other side of the coin, the Kyle Shanahan coin, they either suck or they're either in the Super Bowl. Maybe they revert back to Super Bowl this year. Who knows? But most importantly, is the age of Micah Parsons. The Packers were in on Khalil Mack, and you heard Jason Wilde wisely cite that because Khalil Mack, that was something the Packers were in on very aggressively. Khalil Mack was coming up on his second contract. He wasn't 30 or 30 plus like Trey Hendrickson or TJ Watt or who's the other one? Max Crosby, another name. He's 26. Micah Parsons, 26. That's the type of player the Packers would make this move for. So I wouldn't go to bed tonight expecting to wake up to a push notification that the Packers have acquired Micah Parsons. But there are breadcrumbs and there are details that line up that tell me, well, if it's going to happen, it might be in a situation similar to this. So this is Brian Gutekunst. It was a long, drawn-out answer. You heard the first 2 parts of his answer in that intro, but here's a little bit more from Brian Gutekunst this afternoon.
I think every opportunity that's out there to help your football team, we've always taken a look at, try to see how it affects us right now, how does it affect us in the future, and make the best decision we can. Sometimes we've been right, sometimes we've been wrong. Sometimes we've taken risks that really worked out for us. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes we didn't take risks and we look back and we wish we would have. And sometimes, as Ted used to say, God helps those that can't help themselves a little bit sometimes. So sometimes the best deals you make are the ones you don't, and so you just I think you weigh everything and you weigh what is in the moment and what is in the future as well.
I love how he included this comment. Like
sometimes the best deals you make are the ones you don't.
He just emptied the Ted Thompson clip. Just, Ted used to say, and some deals, some of the best deals you make are the ones that you don't. It's like, all right, this is just, I'm sitting here doing the Brad Pitt and Moneyball, just talk. It's just words. So we'll get Mike Clemens to kind of help us decipher what he heard from Brian Gutekunst, what he heard from Matt LaFleur, and what he's seen, just kind of the general vibe of what's going on up there in Green Bay is, he might be picking the brains of his fellow scribes, his fellow press box creatures. So we'll get to that. A little Brewers news that we should cover before we take our first break, and I'll take your calls on Micah Parsons or the Brewers or whatever you want on the other side of this break. Busy afternoon for the Brewers. Eric Fetty is now a Milwaukee Brewer, which sucks because he sucks. And the fact that the Brewers are signing him, it's his 3rd team this year. The Cardinals got rid of him. and the Cardinals need anybody who can pitch. The Braves got rid of him, and the Braves, I mean, their entire rotation is just gone. If there's any team in the world that needs even a somewhat competent pitcher, it would be the Braves, and they said, no, thank you. So the Brewers have signed Eric Fetty. They put Logan Henderson on the 60-day IL, which effectively ends his season. Trevor McGill has been placed on the 15-day with right flexor strain, retroactive to 2 days ago, the last time that he appeared. Sal Frelick's not in the lineup tonight. Murph said it's because I want to give Sal a little break because of the knee issues he's been dealing with. It's like, okay, Jesus. And tonight, Quinn Priester needs to be pushed back a couple of days because he has a wrist issue, but we'll start Saturday in Toronto, apparently. So what they're going to do tonight is Aaron Ashby will open. Eric Fetty will follow. The problem is if Aaron Ashby only goes 2 innings and Eric Fetty only goes an inning or 2, well, then the next guy to the bullpen would be Aaron Ashby. He's been the guy who's played that role of bridge guy, and he's been unbelievable. It's pretty crazy to think Aaron Ashby has been a load-bearing member of this pitching staff, maybe more so than any other. Like, if there's a Brewers pitcher in the last week or two that you think, oh, thank God for him, he's really bailed him out, it would be Ashby, who's got to open tonight. It's not great. So the lineup tonight is Terang, Durbin, Contreras, Yelich, Vaughn, Perkins, Bowers, Lockridge, Monasterio. This team's banged up. This team is really banged up, and it's especially concerning because this Brewers pitching staff was so deep. At the deadline, you thought, okay, they have Nestor Cortez, they have Chad Patrick, they have Logan Henderson. There's no possible way that even if they trade one or more of these guys, that they would ever be in a pinch because of injuries, and yet they're pitching Eric Fetty tonight. So not exactly ideal. Let me just word it that way. Yeah, Tyler and Mass comments on the live stream. I guess Priester's got a wrist thing. So he's not going to go on the IL. Apparently, Trevor McGill also spoke with reporters and said this is not as serious of a flexor strain as I've had in the past, but a flexor strain is no joke. You come back too fast and you can really damage that thing to a place where, much more significant. You maybe need to have surgery or something like that. Adam McCalvy's tweeting right now that ideally Aaron Ashby goes through the Diamondbacks order once. So if he goes 9 up, 9 down, that's 3 innings. Even if Eric Fetty gives you 2 or 3 solid, you still need to eat 7, 8, 9. Shelby Miller's ostensibly down. Jared Koenig's got to be down. Did Uribe pitch last night? He was down as well. So what? Easton McGee? Oh, boy. They're in a tough spot. Luckily, they've been able to hold on to win the last 2 nights. I can't place enough emphasis on those 2 wins, getting those. And if you lose the finale tonight, maybe you can throw Easton McGee in mop-up duty or throw Jake Bowers. Ideally in mop-up duty when you're leading by a bunch, but even if you're trailing and you have to punt tonight's game for the sake and the health of your pitching staff, it's not the end of the world considering you've won the last 2 games. But again, nothing close to ideal. So I'll get to some of your phone calls on the other side at 608-321-1670, either on the Brewers or the last, nearing 24 hours now, where it felt like at one point, oh, Micah Parsons is a Packer. Look at that. Your thoughts on all of this coming up next at 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros. For pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I think every opportunity that's out there to help your football team, we've always taken a look at, tried to see how it affects us right now, how does it affect us in the future, and make the best decision we can. Sometimes we've been right, sometimes we've been wrong. Sometimes we've taken risks that really worked out for us. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes we didn't take risks and we look back and we wish we would have. And sometimes, as Ted used to say, God helps those that can't help themselves a little bit sometimes. So sometimes the best deals you make are the ones you don't, and so you just I think you weigh everything and you weigh what is in the moment and what is in the future as well.
It's Brian Gutekunst earlier today. Just a masterclass in GM speak. I mean, there's nothing there. He answered the question, but he didn't really answer the question. Well, sometimes the best deals are the deals you don't make. And God help those who can't help themselves. It's like, all right. Just whipping through his little stack of note cards with all the GM cliches. So the Micah Parsons rumors and the buzz, I would say that's probably the best word that I could use to describe the Micah Parsons situation. That's certainly on the table, and a really busy day for the Brewers. Eric Fetty is now a Brewer. And they sent a couple of players to the IL. They transferred Logan Henderson to the 60-day, so he is basically done for the year. Trevor McGill to the 15-day with a flexor strain. You hope that's only 15 days, but that's not an insignificant injury. So your thoughts and your calls on all of this. Quinn Priester also pushed back to Saturday, so that's an issue. It will be Ashby with Fetty to follow tonight. So that's what we're talking about. And also Jesse Temple coming up in about a half hour. So if you have a Badgers thought or a college football thought, that's on the table as well. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Grant, good afternoon. Got a quick joke for you.
Okay, Cohen.
What is Eric Fetty's ERA with the Brewers going to be?
What is his ERA going to be? Probably like 10. Double digits, probably.
1738.
The last place he was last in Atlanta, right? That's where he was. God, he sucked down there too. Oh God.
Yeah, not looking good for the Brewers. Kind of their MO though. Big closer goes down and we're limping into the playoffs.
I hate that it took me an extra 10 seconds to realize that was a Fetty Wap joke. That was better. You deserved better on that joke. I know. Wow. Am I an old man? I think I might be. I'm getting there. Oh God.
Hey, it's preseason for you too.
Thank you. It's preseason for everybody. Thank you.
Including maybe John Kuhn. I don't know what he's doing, tweeting that out. I like it though. He's in that position on Twitter. Might as well, or X, might as well stir it up. Why not?
Did it not feel like Micah Parsons, like for a 2-hour window last night, we all agreed that like this was happening. Like we were all in. That's how it felt last night, Cohen.
Yeah, I was luckily doing a fantasy draft during the time, so I kind of missed a lot of that. So I'm kind of glad I didn't waste my time. But tinfoil hat today for me, Ed Policy comes out saying he's not going to renew Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst until after this season.
Yeah.
Gutekunst has said this is the year they make changes. What does he have to lose? He might not even be making these first-round draft picks that he's going to be giving up for Micah Parsons. Why not?
Well, and he did say it's time that we up our sense of urgency, right? We got to start competing for championships. And I think that was more of an internal message. But I don't know. We graded position groups on the Bill Michaels show earlier today. There's not a lot of A's. There's a lot of B's. But then Bill, I'm just looking back through the grades. He gave defensive end a C. He gave defensive tackle a B. He gave cornerback a C. Like, where's the mix? Like, I think they'll be good. But we saw last year, good might not be good enough when you're in a division with the Lions and the Vikings and a conference with the Eagles.
Yeah, that's a great message. Good might not be good enough.
Good might not be good enough. Oh, Cone, well, that's a great call. Sorry, I underplayed your Fetty Wap joke. I need to be better than that.
Yeah, you do. That's all right.
Thank you, Cuts Cone Roller. God, I'm mad that I thought it was like I thought for whatever reason I heard 1738 and my mind first went to Future and I'm like, oh, it must be an Atlanta thing. But I love Future as much as anybody. I can't be. Sorry, Cone. We'll cut that out of the podcast in post. 608-321-1670 Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Jesus. Hello. Yep.
You got to just check your schedule. This on the Brewers. They've got 2 more games with the Diamondbacks. One tonight, one tomorrow.
Sure.
Check the schedule.
Well, right? What about? Did you just hang up? What the hell was that call? Yeah, they have 2. What does that have to do with anything? Is that a response to what I said about the last 2 nights? About how I said, well, thank God you won the last. It's true. They still won the last 2 nights. So at the very worst, they're going to split this series. And with I don't even know what the division lead sits at currently. But with what is it, a half a dozen? With that lead, you really only need to play 500 baseball or slightly better to probably win the division. So, okay, it's a 4-game series. Sure. They still won the last 2 nights. I assume that's what that call. It wasn't really a call. It was more, it scared the piss out of me. It's just yelling into the phone. It's a 4-game series. But the point remains, you won the last 2 nights. And if you find yourself down and you need to punt tonight to save your pitching staff, which is in a tough spot, then it's not the end of the world, is my point. Whether it's a 3 or a 4-game series. Thank you for the call. One more here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Jesus.
That's a tough act to follow, Grant. We got the Fetty Wap call out, and then some guy just telling to check your schedule. It's cute here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this cute? That was did I deserve that? I deserve to get yelled at for missing the Fetty Wap joke, but not for, so it's a 4-game series. Okay, fine. Thank God they won the last 2 nights. The point stands. That's gonna derail the show. I'm gonna be pissed for the next hour and a half.
I think Cohen's got like a rap career in his future. That was pretty good. Like he hit you with, it was like on tune and everything.
Yeah,
like
pretty good.
1738. Like I caught it right away. I laughed out loud. I'm sorry you did it.
That ERA. Well, I'm glad you got it. That Eric Fetty ERA, probably because the sample's going to be really small. So if he gives up a couple of runs in a small sample, that ERA is going to look astronomical.
Yeah, I don't even know who that guy is, but I called in to talk about Micah Parsons.
Yes.
And this Green Bay Packer team. So do you think we're a Micah Parsons away from making the Super Bowl? Like, does that make us a lock?
Nothing ever makes you a lock. I think if they had Micah Parsons rushing from one side, especially if they're able to keep Gary, like if, let's say they give up a couple of premium picks and Lucas Van Ness, I think that puts them right in a group with teams that can win the Super Bowl. No, nothing will ever make you a lock, no matter how many picks you trade or how much you do. But don't you think it would put them significantly closer and put them on a much leveler playing field with some of the teams in the NFC?
I still, even if they got Micah, I don't think that they're the favorites in the North. That's what I think about this poorly constructed offense.
What's poorly constructed about? Most people are more worried about the defense, which I am not. I'm more worried about the offense too. But why do you think it's poorly constructed?
I think just piggybacking on my comments on YouTube yesterday, shout out to what do they call themselves?
On YouTube?
House or something.
Oh, the Grant stands? I have not personally given that a stamp, but
grandstand.
they can run with it.
Yeah, I like the grandstands. But I think we're like, I have more confidence, honestly, in the defense than I do the offense. I think this is probably like top 5, top 10 defense, but I think it's like maybe a top half offense at best. Like on its best day, it's a top half offense. I think we're paper thin at any skilled position, and I honestly, I think they should be looking to trade for a disgruntled star receiver. That's the only way I can see this really working out. I think it seems to me like this is going to be, unless Tucker Kraft turns into like the best tight end in the league, which is basically wishful thinking from my perspective. I just don't really think this offense will be anything more than Josh Jacobs rushing the ball like 40 times a game, and every team stacking the box because we're a one-trick pony with a bunch of pass catchers that can't do anything under pressure. That's where I'm at. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Jordan Love balls out and becomes the MVP, because that's the only way that I can see this offense being like even top 10.
I mean, so I understand your skepticism, Q. I really do. And I think I lean more towards your side than the side that many Packers fans are on, which is, again, a constant refrain of, we got to fix the defense. We got to fix the defense. I think the defense is the more trustworthy unit right now. I'm not going to call the offense a one-trick pony. I'm not going to say they're top half of the league at best. I think a lot of players on this offense, from the line to, of course, Jordan Love, to the skill position guys, all need to get a little bit better. I think the collective is very good. Just because there's no like real weak links. Like, their offensive line is not going to suck. Their wide receivers aren't going to suck. Their running back is a star. Their quarterback isn't going to suck. Okay. I feel very confident that there's a baseline level of competence for like every position group and most players on the field on offense. I don't know if they're, I don't know if they're on the level of being able to control big moments in big games. And that's what you need to do to win playoff games. You need to be able to convert a 3rd and 6 halfway through the 4th quarter with the game hanging in the balance, right? You need to be able to put a drive together, down 3 with 4 minutes left, or up 4 with the ball with 4 minutes. Like, those are the situations I think of. Can you do that? Because that's what wins you a playoff game. And I think that's more of a matter of maturity and execution than it is of actual talent. I think their depth of talent on offense is fine. It's about that talent performing and executing crisply and cleanly in the most important moments, which is how you win playoff games. Then to your point, Q, well, Jordan Love's going to have to ball out. Yeah. Any quarterback that's going to win a Super Bowl is going to have to ball out. They might have a game or two here and there where they don't have their best, and then you ask the defense to pick it up that week, or you ask a skill position player to make a great play. But Q, there's no world in which Jordan Love sucks, and it's like, but the rest of the team was great, so they won a Super Bowl. Like, that's not really possible. 608-321-1670. One more call here, and then we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Don't you know the Brewers only got 2 games now and not 1 game?
Well, I think it's 6.5 now. I checked the standings. It's 6.5.
I know. Tick, 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 tick. Goes to the Cubs.
Your team lost last night. Your team lost a game in the standings last night.
We got a 9-game road trip. And now the only thing worse than that last caller is you need to get a new pair of shoes, I heard. I think we all got to take collection up for granted to get a better pair of shoes so you can get to that free food a little quicker, so you don't complain.
This was office politics yesterday. Dave, I expect courtesy from my coworkers. I expect courteous behavior in the workplace, and I guess I expect too much. So it's good to know where I stand around this building.
Well, no, it's called get there a little earlier. And
I'm the last car. Food. I took a picture leaving last night. I'm the last car in the parking lot of this building.
Well,
most
you're the
nights.
last person to work there too. I mean, so so you work the latest, so you should be in. There's free food. It's your own fault that the fat people got there quick.
Well, we have morning show people who get here at like 4:45 in the morning. What am I supposed to do? Come in with them just because that's what my generation should do?
Accept the fact that you got beat out, and that's whose fault that for not.
What did you call about? Go ahead.
The Packers will never win the Super Bowl. Here's why. Think about it, you people out there. Think about the last 5-10 teams that win. What do they all have in common? They make big trades. Frisco, how many Super Bowls have they been into and traded their 1s and 2s and 3 away and got big time all pro because they don't care about 1s.
Yeah.
They'd rather go out and trade a 1 for a guy who's been around the league 4 years. Look at the Rams.
The Rams
when
are
they
the best
traded
example.
a cornerback to Jacksonville. They traded a 1 away.
Yeah, and they got Von Miller, and they traded for Matthew Stafford too. They traded for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
The Rams are the best example.
And that cornerback that one of the best in the league at times.
Jalen Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah, Ramsey. But instead, Green Bay would rather keep their draft choices and keep fluttering around. No, this Parsons thing would have made so much sense. Like it's not going to happen, but
why not? It could. Why do people need to dare to dream a little bit?
When's the last time that Gutekunst has made a trade like that? I feel if he does. Now the question I have, I wish you would ask Mike. I never did hear the answer today.
Write it down.
They kept 4 linebackers for 3 positions. Now that was a little strange. Thinking what's that one guy doesn't stay healthy, but 4 linebackers for 3 positions. Yeah. That was but no. I wish Green Bay would take the Frisco, the Rams, not Buffalo, but Kansas City.
Yeah.
I wish they would take their philosophy and trade, man. But we don't. So that's why we don't win. It's frustrating.
I think, look, it might make sense for the Packers to push some chips right now. There have been years in the past, like 2020 and 2021, I thought those teams were awesome. And then they didn't make plays when they needed to in the playoffs. That's not on ownership. I know that's a loose term with the Packers, but that's not on the GM. Like, you had Tom Brady at home and you pooped all over yourself. I mean, you just made a mess of that game with so many mistakes and so many missed opportunities. The Rams are my favorite example because the Rams are an example of how you can trade away picks to get more aggressive within a championship window and not be sunk for the next 10 years. The Rams are good again, very good again. So the Rams are a good example of, even if you get aggressive and make trades, you don't have to bottom out for 5 to 10 years like maybe you would in other leagues. The NFL is very elastic. It helps you bounce back. We got to take a break because I want to have enough time for Jesse Temple at the end of the hour. A little college football talk. We'll mix that in. I'll give you some Brewers thoughts on the other side.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. I got to take about 3 or 4 minutes here in this segment, and then we got a break to get to Jesse Temple. We'll wrap up the hour with a little Badgers talk. Brewers are leaking. A couple injuries here, a little fatigue there. Last night you saw the defense kind of quit them there for a couple of plays. Sal Frelick giving up an extra base, some infield defense. And that'll happen with, Joey Ortiz out of the lineup. We also saw, Bryce Terang, the power streak that he's on. And Jack Stern foretold of this in early August when he was writing for Brewer Fanatic. Like, this power surge has maybe been in the works for Bryce Terang. What he's doing in the month of August, he's got more home runs than Kyle Schwarber. So they're still talented enough, and I think the thing that they've built is still strong enough to keep winning games, but you can only have so many injuries. You can only have so much slippage before it really starts to impact your wins and losses. Luckily, they've guaranteed at least a split in this series. They won the first 2 games. So if you got a punt tonight in a game where you're opening with Ashby and then throwing Eric Fedde of all people, you've kind of set yourself up. Thank God they were able to win the last 2 nights and walk it off last night thanks to Isaac Collins. Wisco Sports Show, who's this?
Hey, Grant, Clemens, Mike.
Hey, Clemens, what's going on?
Well, I just want to let you know that in case anybody's wondering, I am the one who coined the term grandstands. And
we tip our cap to you.
You proved it. Yeah.
I proved it, or I've seen you on there before. I will back that up. I'll back that up.
You said you liked it. You didn't give it the official approval.
Well, I suppose now we can stamp it. I think that's fair.
But yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about the Brewers too. But these things happen this time of year. There's a lot of fatigue. These guys have played a lot of games. I think we're going to be okay though, because every other team is going through the same thing. And like I said last night, the Cubs lost and they got the 9-game road trip.
Something like that. Yeah, their opponents probably aren't as tough as the Brewers. I buy into that less in baseball than in other leagues, but it's still real. Like, I would rather play bad teams than good teams.
Right, but sometimes the Brewers really get themselves up for a good team. Well, look what they did to the Dodgers this year.
Or the Phillies in that first series, yeah.
So I think we'll be okay. It was, there's a couple inexplicable errors the last couple of nights, but overall the defense is awesome. And I think the hitting's been doing pretty darn well. I tell you, there's some clutch hitters in this team, Contreras, and there's Montestereo. there's been some different hero. Like every few nights, there's another hero that gets a hit in the bottom or a sack fly in the bottom of the ninth inning, and I think that's pretty inspired baseball, actually. So I'm not too worried.
Well, they're still doing Brewers things, Clemhead, and I'm in a pinch here, so I got to let you go, but I'll reiterate what you're saying. They're still doing Brewers things. The at-bats that they strung together in the third last night, Terang with a battle of like 10 pitches, and then Contreras from 0-2 to 3-2 to home run, and then in the ninth last night, Contreras earning that walk, or Contreras singling, Yelich working that walk. Like, they're still doing Brewers things, but at a certain point, you can't lose too many pitchers and you can't get too fatigued and your defense can't slip too much, right? They're really being tested. Their core principles are being tested in a way that I'd rather not see. But if they're able to get healthy, they should come out of this just fine on the other side. This is something that teams go through. It's just a lot of games and a lot of days without a lot of time off. And I am worried maybe a little bit more than I hear in your voice, Clemhead. I'm sorry, I got to go because Jesse Temple's going to join us for 10 minutes of Badgers Talk before we take a break at 5 o'clock, get an update from Zach Heilprin. So we'll talk a little Badgers. Their opener tomorrow night. Jesse Temple, Badger Connect, joins us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Jesse.
Jesse. Hey, Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse Temple is here. Badger Connect. You hear him on the camp with Zach. They've been on a heater the last couple of weeks as we power forward to their season opener tomorrow night. And Jesse, we need this opener Because I'm excited about college football and we're all excited for the games to be back. But I can really tell because Zach sent me a bunch of sound bites from Luke Fickell on Monday. There's probably 24 of them here. And a lot of them are an answer along the lines of, we feel really good about this, but we got to go out and prove it. Like that's half of the answers in this press conference. So I think it's time that we, get this team out on the field and actually see some of these things that we've been talking about and that Luke Fickell's been, getting questions about for so long now.
Yes, after 2 seasons of 500 to sub 500 play, I think certainly he's done with talking season. He was done with it a while ago, and he recognizes that it doesn't really matter what you say because all that matters are those 12 regular season games to show you're making progress. But of course, every year is critical, every game is critical, and it's an indictment on where the program stands. But that's why college football is so fun. And this opener is just yet another marker for where is Wisconsin football.
So a couple of sound bites from Luke Fickell that I want to play for Monday. Both are actually dealing with the running back position. And I'll play you this one first. It's only about 20 seconds. You were there. I know you've heard it, but for members and listeners, members of our audience who hadn't heard this, he said something that struck me. He said that having a stud running back kind of gives the team a certain energy and a different vibe, and it's something that they've been lacking. So here's Luke Fickell, and then I want your response to this.
As you look a little bit at through 2 years is when you've got somebody that can create some things, create energy, be dynamic. I think like we had with Braylon in year one, it gives you a different vibe. I hope and believe that that's what we've got in that room. And I'm not just saying Darion Dill. I think Cade Giacomelli is another guy that just can give us some difference, but they got to go out and prove it.
Have you seen that to be true in your tenure of covering the Badgers? You've seen a lot of stud running backs. Did they make a difference like Luke Fickell's talking about there?
He would be accurate. We've all been spoiled for so long, and the 2010s are a nice indicator of it because every year they had somebody special. Yeah, Wisconsin had NFL bodies all over, and you can't discredit the offensive line and how many exceptional linemen there were. And you also need a running back who can make you right even when you were wrong. And Wisconsin had that. Monte Ball, James White, Melvin Gordon, certainly, Jonathan Taylor. They just have not had that consistent caliber of running back necessarily since then. And Braylon Allen battled injuries, but he's an NFL caliber running back. So do they have it this year? Who knows, man? Dylan Jones is presumably your number one, but he's carried 16 times as a college football player. Darian Dupree was a backup late last season, has not carried more than 11 times in a game. And Cade Giacomelli didn't receive a touch in the last 5 games of last season. So I like the potential of both Darian and Dylan, and certainly think Cade can help them. But Luke is right, because another thing he mentioned was basically this offense is going to go as far as the running back room can take them. And I felt that way certainly before he said it, but I don't know what the answer is. And that's what we're going to find out, because if you build an offense around physicality and establishing the run, you darn well better have running backs that can take advantage of those opportunities.
So that was the next thing on my list. I wanted to ask you about that comment, because I think on some level we agree, because I think we all believe that those running backs can be some of their best or their most kind of star-studded players when you look up and down the roster. So I want extended thoughts on the idea that running backs are going to decide how good they can be, and then maybe some other position groups that could be a bit of a bellwether or a decider of their floor and their ceiling this year.
Well, think about how many times the running backs are going to touch the ball this season, presumably in Jeff Grimes' offense. Kansas a year ago under Grimes averaged about 25 passes per game. So you're going to be running the ball a lot. Now, what is the distribution of carries between those 3 guys? Remains to be seen. Maybe it's a feeling out process early in the year where you're using all 3 and end up using 2. But either way, of course, I could pick a wide receiver, but how many times are those guys actually going to touch the ball in a game? Your leading receiver could have 5 catches or something like that. So absolutely. And of course, that leads to the offensive line needing to be really good. At least you've got 3 returning starters that you can lean on. But yeah, those running backs, they're going to make this offense go.
How big is Jake Renfro going to be for this team this year? I know Fickell was asked about that on Monday too.
Huge. He's obviously a multi-year starter, started at Cincinnati on that playoff team and then battled injuries for a couple of years. It was looking dicey for a few hours in fall camp because he said he got rolled up on, and there were about 8 hours where he was kind of scared because he needed to get tests and find out, but he missed 8 days is what he said. And he's practiced for the last week plus now. It was a challenge midway through fall camp in the open practices because Renfro, your starting center, was hurt. Kerry Gutekunst, your backup center, was hurt. So they really had their number 3, Ryan Corey, a second-year player working with the first-team group, and then your reserves were guys who just, I don't know if they've ever snapped before, but you need guys to get reps. But Renfroe is the quarterback of that offensive line. He's tremendously intelligent, super positive guy. Zach and I talked about this on the camp, but if there's anybody who could speak something into existence, I feel like it's Jake Renfroe. But obviously, with the difficulty and the complexity of this offense, you need that center quarterback combination to be really strong, and they have that with Jake Renfroe and Billy Edwards Jr.
And you saw Billy Edwards Jr. even working with the 2s or the 3s at center and on that O-line kind of build and grow and kind of solidify that offense over the course of fall camp, you think?
You're saying Billy Edwards Jr. working with the 2s and 3s.
Well, the backup center, I mean, the second or third center that you were talking about without Renfroe. You still were able to see him kind of build that chemistry and set protections and do all of those things. That wasn't a huge hindrance in camp, like you were saying?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, by that point, Billy had a knee brace on. He had banged knees. He's fine now. He says he may have to wear the brace, but he's comfortable with it. It's not like I saw any issues, but they weren't obviously going with all the bullets flying.
Jesse Temple is here, Badger Connect, and like you just heard him reference as well, he's on the Camp with Zach, an excellent Badger podcast. Fickle was asked about the size and the length along the defensive front and how he thinks it's improved, and that's borne out in the numbers, but we heard that from him personally on Monday. Let's just say, sorry to be all negative, but let's say we get the same result this year and they get trampled by really physical teams right along that defensive front. Like, at that point, does it become more of a question of Fickle and Tressel's scheme, the way they're building it up, less so of a front with a lot of players that are just smaller? Because when I heard that answer, that's where I went. It's like, okay, well, if you're bigger this year, what if it still doesn't work? Like, then what's the next thing? That was kind of my thought.
If we get to that point, you best be making some changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say to that. Like, I can't project what December is going to look like, but I think at that time, assuming Luke gets another year, if things don't go well, and I would expect you get a fourth year just based on the financial ramifications and the time to build your program, you might have to start evaluating whether your staff is right for you. But they have made notable changes. And if we're looking toward the positive, and we ought to be because the season hasn't started yet, I think they've done everything in their power to make the changes they felt were necessary to help get Wisconsin back to a higher level. I'm not going to say the level that is expected, because I don't believe this is a championship team given the schedule. But defensive line-wise, you look at their 2 deep, or at least the depth chart that was released, and interior D-line lists 6 players. They're all separated by OR, but that's because all 6 are going to play. Those 6 average 316 pounds. The top 6 a year ago averaged 295 pounds. So that's a considerable difference. Will it matter in the games? I mean, they certainly hope so, but you need those edge rushers. You need those linebackers. You need that front 7 to be a heck of a lot better, because you can't get stomped the way you did toward the end of last season.
And so that's Jesse Temple from earlier today. I recorded him a little bit earlier in the day. There's one more question and answer, and I think it's worthwhile because we talk about Miami of Ohio. Just going to run out of time because I'm perpetually out of time. So I'm going to put that whole interview, and I'm going to try to be better with this, putting full interviews on the YouTube channel, which, by the way, you should subscribe to. Like, if you listen to this radio show, the very least you can do is pop open your phone and just hit subscribe. Then you can forget about it. You never have to remember that you did it ever again, but it takes you like 3 seconds, and it helps me out just a little bit. So you can find that interview and many show highlights, whether they be interviews or fun little clips. If I have time to make some, I'll go up on the YouTube page. Just look up the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills. Coming up on the other side, we can have any prevailing thoughts from hour number 1, whether it be on Micah Parsons or the Brewers transactions today, or anything that you just heard from Jesse. If you want to talk college football, it's on the board. I think I'm going to do a hard reset on some of my Micah Parsons thoughts right after 5 o'clock. And probably hard reset on some of the conversations we've had about the Brewers as well. Hoping to connect with Mike Clemens, but their practice schedule got a little bit pushed back today. So at the very least, we'll hear a little bit more from Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, and we can continue to kind of pick at this Micah Parsons thing, because it's pretty entertaining. Like, it's a pretty wild scenario. Like, last night, it felt like Micah Parsons, any moment now, we were going to get a transaction, and he was going to be a member of the Milwaukee Brewers. They could probably use him to pitch. But the Green Bay Packers, of course. Quick 2-minute update from Zach Heilprin, and we'll right back with hour number 2.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst was asked this afternoon about rumors the team is looking into potentially acquiring Dallas All-Pro pass rusher Micah Parsons. The team has been connected to Parsons in multiple reports following his request for a trade earlier this month. The Cowboys have made it clear they don't intend to trade him, but that hasn't stopped anyone from asking, including today when Gutekunst met the media.
Would you, if a player like Micah Parsons were available and the price would be as high as that, was that something you would even entertain?
Yeah, first of all, I can't talk about any players on any other teams, but I think, again, every opportunity that's out there that if we think it could help the Packers, we're going to take a long look at. And, again, if that opportunity makes sense to us, then we'll do it. If it doesn't, we won't.
Meanwhile, Packers made some roster moves, including signing linebacker Nick Niemann to their 53-man roster and releasing cornerback Micah Robinson. They also have a new practice squad QB in Clayton Thune, who was with Arizona the last 2 years. Also, the team was on the field for practice today, including a more involved Jordan Love as he took snaps and handoffs 15 days since undergoing thumb surgery on his non-throwing hand. Turning to Wisconsin, they're going to open the season tomorrow night against Miami of Ohio. They were 17.5-point favorites. Kick is set for 8 o'clock.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Get insurance from a company who knows Wisconsin and cares about your community. You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home and auto rates? Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more about products and discounts.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers going to be without Trevor McGill for a bit. Team placed him on the 10-day injured list with a right flexor strain today. Had blown 3 of his last 4 save opportunities. The Crew and Diamondbacks playing the 3rd game of their 4-game series tonight at American Family Field. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
I'm not going to ask about anybody specific. I know better than that. But philosophically, you were in on Khalil Mack a few years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious when it comes to really bold strokes. How do you view those? How do you view them as a risk? How do you view them as a reward? How do you kind of process ideas like that if you want to get involved in them?
Yeah. I think you got to, first of all, it's your team and how certainly every decision affects your football team. Obviously, there's so many different factors in it, who the player is, medical, certainly, cap-wise. But, yeah, I think, you have to look at everything. Any opportunity to help your football team, you have to look at and discuss as a group. And we do that all the time. I mean, we do. It's almost daily. You know what I mean? I think what someone might consider a bold move, someone else might not. You know what I mean? We signed a practice squad guy today. I might consider that a bold move. You know what I mean? I think every opportunity that's out there to help your football team, we've always taken a look at. Try to see how it affects us right now, how does it affect us in the future, and make the best decision we can.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
A little bit from Brian Gutekunst earlier today. We might dip into a little bit more of that. Both him and Matt LaFleur speaking with the media this afternoon after 53-man rosters were finalized. They're never really finalized, but yesterday yesterday was the official cut down day. You got to get down to 53. So they're finalizing that roster and their practice squad. Fluid as always, of course, but the Micah Parsons buzz kind of hanging a little bit more in the front than with all due. Micah Robinson, for example, who's a player they cut loose. They must feel really good about their cornerback position, and maybe we'll hear a little bit on that topic from Brian Gutekunst. They don't seem particularly stressed about that. This is the Wisco Sports Show, hour number 2. My name is Grant Bills. Appreciate you being here. Couple open phone lines if you want to grab them. I promise I won't make you wait. 608-321-1670. Last night is a night I will not forget anytime soon. I've never experienced anything like that. It felt like Micah Parsons was a Packer last night. Just sitting, watching Twitter and reading stuff, whether it was from, and I'll throw it up on the live stream here, whether it's from Ricky, who's a Twitter account that you are maybe familiar with, anonymous, but has had some juice in the past, Kay Adams, John Kuhn. I don't know what John Kuhn was doing. I think he was just tweeting to tweet. And, because he works for the Packers and all, people had reason to think that maybe he knew something. I don't know why anyone would think that. I mean, just a Packers employee, no big deal. He can troll all he wants, just like the rest of us, apparently. So everyone thought last night for like an hour or two, myself included, it's like, oh crap, this is happening. It certainly feels like it's happening. And now it feels dead. But I think maybe it feels dead because, as Bill says, this is a fast food society. Micah Parsons could maybe be traded to the Packers tomorrow, and it will not feel as though he's been traded to the Packers because, well, we moved on from that like 24 hours ago. That was what we were doing Tuesday night. What do you mean? We moved on to bigger, better, different things. I hear a lot of people say, well, this isn't something the Packers do. The Packers would never do that. And again, I like to push back on those generalities because sure they would. You know, Dave from Monona called in the first time. He's like, when was the last time the Packers made a deal like this? Well, this isn't the type of deal you make every year, Dave. It would be like asking, well, when was the last time my friend Steve even bought a car? I don't know. How often does one buy a car? Every 5, 6, 7 years? I don't know. It's not something that you buy every year. Well, he's going to buy a cabin. When was the last time he even bought a house? I don't know, Dave. You don't typically buy a house every year. That's typically a purchase that only happens once in a blue moon. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the Packers have not, in recent memory, packaged multiple premium picks to go get a guy. It's not something that you do very often. The Micah Parsons level player is very infrequently traded. So just because the Packers haven't done it doesn't mean they won't, doesn't mean they can't, doesn't mean they wouldn't. I think this is the type of move, this is the type of player that if the Packers were to do this and they were in on Khalil Mack, multiple premium picks, player in his prime. Micah Parsons is still only 26. He doesn't turn 27 until May. He's going to be 26 all year. This is the type of player the Packers would do it for. Not Trey Hendrickson, who's 30 plus, or TJ Watt, who's aging, or Max Crosby, who's aging. A guy in his prime, like Khalil Mack was, or like Myles Garrett is. This is the type of player. You combine that with the factors of Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur's contracts, weight that however you will, but there has to be some weight attributed to that. Their spot in the division, they're behind some other elite teams, their conference, behind teams like the Eagles. I think if the season started today and Matt Stafford's healthy, the Rams are better too. So there's some real reason for urgency. Take it from the horse's mouth. Brian Gutekunst said that earlier this year. It's time for us to up our sense of urgency. It's time we start contending for championships around here. So, no, I'm not saying that this is imminent, but don't dismiss this, Packers fans. First of all, don't dismiss it because that makes you a boob. If you're that person, like, oh, that'll never happen, you're actually buying into that, well, then why be a sports fan? Like, this is part of the fun, is getting your hopes up and thinking, well, what if, and kicking around possibilities. It's fun. So don't be that guy. But also don't be that guy because the Packers could do something like this. I think at some point in our lives, they definitely will. They're not going to do it every year, but these aren't the types of moves you make every other year, every single year. 608-321-1670. Back to some of your phone calls. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Darnell.
Hey, Darnell. What's going on?
Well, I'm not sure exactly why people are saying that a couple of first-round selections and a player to be named is too steep a price for a guy like Micah Parsons. I think that's just a little bit ridiculous. I don't know where, if you're the Packers and you're consistently finishing in the top half of the league, I think every single year, pretty much, right?
A team with a very high floor, let's say. Yes.
Right. Your first round pick is almost always going to be 15 or later, right? Mm-hmm. With the notable exception of that 1 year where they were bad in 2023 or whatever it was.
They were bad. They weren't in the top half of the league that year. Yes.
No, generally, we're talking about a pick in the late teens or the 20s or, amazingly enough, sometimes later 20s, right? Are we really placing that much of a premium on our first round selections? Like, I go back to a couple, even the last 10 years, they've had 3 pan out from the first round, and we're going to get all hoity-toity when it comes to giving up first-round picks when you can get Micah Parsons, who's got 55 sacks in 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little bit ridiculous to me, especially when you're the Packers and you haven't been using your first-round picks to do anything. It's like if you change this trade offer to Micah Parsons for Lucas Van Ness and Dayton Jones and Kevin King, right?
Demarius Randall, we'll throw him in too, yeah.
Like, okay, shoot. You gave up 2 first-round picks, but what did you get?
Yeah,
you got Micah Parsons, guy wrecks games by himself. So I don't know. I saw a lot of that last night where it's like, oh, well, that's too steep a price. I'm like, well, okay. Until I see them do some on picks once in a while, then I'd say it's definitely an asset that can be moved. But yeah, what do I know?
Well,
I'm just a fanatic.
Well, fan is short for fanatic, Darnell. I appreciate you pointing that out to round out your call. That's a good call. I didn't see a lot of people. I did not see those folks on the internet last night, Darnell. Now, you're a dad, so maybe you run in different circles than I don't think a lot of Packers fans are bent out of shape about the price. Let's say it's a first next year and the first after and a second and a fifth. Like, yeah, I can live with that. Especially considering the Packers have been better with third-round pick, or not third-round picks necessarily, although Evan Williams was pretty good last year. Or was that 2 years ago? Is Evan Williams a fourth-round pick? They've been better with late-round picks. That's where they got their right tackle. They got their left tackle in the 7th round. So I am constantly told when I complain about first-round picks, which isn't that often, but it comes up on the show, I get people like, the Peter Bukowskis of the world who are like, well, between their first, their second, their third, their fourth, their fifth, their sixth, their seventh, they got a couple good players. Who cares where they came from? Okay. Well, then light those first-round picks on fire. I don't even want them. Go get Micah Parsons then. You know what I mean? Like, fine. If that's the game that we're going to play, and it doesn't matter where you're selecting because there's good players everywhere, well, then screw it. Go get Micah Parsons. Now, the contract would be steep, right? Especially considering Jordan Love's making a pile. Micah Parsons would then be making a pile. Now, the nice thing is some of the contracts the Packers have signed recently, Xavier McKinney's deal is already a steal. Kyle Hamilton was just extended today. Zach Tom's deal is already a steal, and he didn't have a chance to age yet. I don't think you're going to be paying for a big left tackle because I think Jordan Morgan's probably in the catbird seat to take over that role next year. Okay, I can see the shape of it. It's going to thin your margins a little bit, but what good is a margin when you don't have players that can wreck games? And I think Micah Parsons would fit that bill in a way that nobody on this roster currently does. Let's put it that way. 608-321-1670. We got a couple calls lined up. I'll get to you all here before our next break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Mike in Eau Claire.
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
Not too much. No, I try not to believe everything I hear on the internet, obviously.
Smart.
But I think it's a possibility. I mean, I was thinking Trey Hendrickson was more of a realistic option, but I mean, that's off the table. So this is basically the last option. And I think Jerry Jones is so spiteful that he doesn't want the Packers to have 10 days of practice with him. He's so spiteful and greedy. He will wait.
Sure.
He will wait to make sure that the Packers don't get him for game one. So I think it's still a possibility. But I'm optimistic.
I think
it could happen.
It's a good place to be, Mike. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you brought up Jerry Jones. Appreciate the call because once upon a time I thought, there's no way that Jerry Jones is going to trade his stud player to the Packers, rival team with a lot of history and a team that's bested them. Like, he's not going to self-own like that. But I tell you what, I've been watching that Netflix documentary about the Cowboys and Jerry Jones is the star of it. I don't think that Jerry Jones is that too concerned with his public image because in this documentary, they have him in his suite, basically crying as the Packers beat him in 23. Oh, that loss took a bite out of us. That was the worst lot. Like, he's self-owning in this documentary. And then there's a part of it where he's talking about how he saw his wife once get a look for Kevin Costner that he's never seen again. Like, he's cucking himself in a 4 or 5 part documentary about how he can't win a Super Bowl and hasn't been able to since the 90s. I don't think he cares. If he's going to get traded, I don't think Jerry's going to get bogged down in it because I don't think Jerry is at a point where he can be humiliated anymore. Like, I just don't think he cares. Now, maybe spiteful. Sure, he's going to wait until the last hour. I'll take Micah Parsons, even if it's 2 days before the season starts. Sure. I'm not going to complain. I like that take from Mike. That's creative, Mike. That's good cutting edge stuff. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that? Hello? Line number 2. Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Who's this?
Oh, it is me. Hi. Hello. Brad in Eau Claire.
Hey, what's going on, Brad?
Hey, not much. Hey, I really like what you just said there. Take those picks and light them up. I'd rather be smoking some Micah Parsons than some first-round picks that were drafted in the last 20 years of my life.
Well, and Darnell made a good point. Like, okay, assign names to those first-round picks, right? Like, instead of saying you're going to give up 2 firsts, say you're giving up Lucas Van Ness and Dayton Jones, which those are cherry picked, sure, of course, but that's fine. Like, I think Packers fans would be fine with that. You know what I mean, Brad? Like they're these assets, they're these magical, mystical picks that they seem more valuable before they actually become the players.
Exactly. Like we really sat back and watched a number of these first round picks that we've taken. Just they're not on the team in a few years, type of deal. So I'd rather give away the next 3 years of first round picks and see some Micah Parsons for the next 5.
Yeah,
that sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
I'll take it.
One interesting thing I saw on the online today, while I quick browsed over the lunch break. Wouldn't it be interesting if maybe Jerry is being the celebrity that he is posted himself to be? He's just kind of pulling us along, and really him and Micah's agent all have this deal worked out already, and a couple days before the season we'll see them sign that deal.
Well, that's what they did last year with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, Brad. It's not inconceivable. I don't think that there is any motivation for, I believe his agent is David Mulligetta, who I think reps Jordan Love too. It's athletes first, so there's a lot of crossover there. I don't think the agent has any motivation to play along in that game. You know what I mean? It's not the agent's responsibility to help an owner drum up drama. It's not my job. My job is to get my contract to my client. That's my job. So I don't know. I don't doubt that Jerry Jones would try it. There have been a few too many public barbs, unless you really, Brad, you want to go like full WWE, like they're scripting out, public comments, and Micah Parsons is laying on the medical table during the preseason game. Like it's all a show. Be a pretty insane show, and I'd respect it a lot. It'd be difficult to pull off and probably pretty unlikely, but I love the theories that are getting thrown around here. All right, let's take one more call here, and then we'll get to our next break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, Ed from Madtown, buddy.
Hey, Ed, what's up?
Not much. Just want to throw a couple points. Yeah, 1 point. Brewers. Are the sky falling with McGill going down? I just saw that he's hurt. Elbow?
Yeah, so he's been put on the 15-day with a flexor strain, and he told the media he met with Sophia and the Brewers, gaggle, those scribes in the clubhouse earlier today or in the dugout, and he said, it's very minor. It's not as bad as some other strains that I've had. He hopes it to be the minimum 15. But flexor strains are tricky. You don't know. Like that could be something that lingers or never really recovers. I hope that it does, but it's not like, I took a liner off the calf. I just need to miss a week. It's a little bit more complicated.
Right. I was at the game the other day, and I thought he looked off to me when I was there on Sunday. He just didn't seem like he had his A game, so that makes sense to me. It seems like that's the common denominator why a pitcher gets sent down for a little break. I hope it is just that. Hey, I love the last 3 calls.
They're very good.
Packers. I just think the first guy that brought it up about what have we gotten first round
Darnell,
comparison to him, I'd say they're all your chips on the table, and let's go, because this year could be a key year. Now, one last point: Jordan Love and Micah Parsons, they're kind of buds. He's done his podcast with him, if I recall.
Yep.
So I like that. Maybe he wants to play with Jordan. Maybe he's tired of all the drama in Dallas. So I can only hope. And I'm hoping.
And part of that drama has been of his own creation. Like Micah hasn't been the most mature. I think that's fair to say. Like I don't know him. I'm just watching from the outside. Like I think Micah has made comments on his podcast and maybe behaved in a way where some of the others around the locker room are like, "Come on, buddy. Like let's grow up a little bit." So maybe if him and Jordan Love are close, there's a lot of mutual respect there. Maybe it would be a good situation for Micah Parsons to grow up a little bit and to be the player that he's going to need to be if he's making $45 million and playing for a team that gave up multiple premium picks to get him.
There you go.
I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, man, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, you got it, brother. Thank you. On the topic of compensation, which isn't really a concern of me, I recorded an episode. I do a podcast every week with our friend Bart Winkler, who's on the show last night, and Paul Immig, who used to cover the Packers for Fox. And we do a I almost said threesome, but it's just a podcast, the 3 of us every week. And Paul asked us earlier today, kind of plays the role of question master, real Meredith Vieira. This guy is. He said, "Is there any reasonable compensation for Micah Parsons that you would think, oh, that's too much?" And I don't think there is, because I think the end of reasonable compensation is a first and a second, a first, and then a 4th or a 5th. And then the Packers probably get back like a 6th. I think that's the end of reasonable compensation, considering that the Packers then have to pay him top edge rusher money. And I would be fine with that. And I don't know if it was Brad or if it was Mike up in Eau Claire who said, take those first round picks, light them on fire. I actually, what I thought of is I go through phases where I just binge segments from the Dave Ramsey show, mostly because it helps me feel better about my personal finances. Like there'll be days where I'm like, man, how do I not I'm never gonna be able to buy a house, or, we all have these financial concerns. And then I listen to someone call into the Dave Ramsey show. It's like, so we're $450,000 in debt, 20,000 personal loans, 50,000 medical loans, $200,000 student loans. By the way, I never graduated, 3 cars. It's like, well, Jesus, at least I'm not that guy. At least I'm not, Sam from Saratoga calling the Dave Ramsey show. But I remember this was a couple days ago. I watched a video where a guy called in, and some of these people call into Dave's show just to peacock. A lot of the people who call are like, I am in debt. How do I fix it? I have this situation with my mortgage. How do I fix it? And then there's some people who are like, I make $700,000 a year and I want to pay off my mortgage faster. How do I do it? It's like, okay, guy, like good for you. Thanks for calling in and sharing. Not, good for you. But there was a guy who called into the show, and I can't remember how much he made a year, but it was like maybe $300,000-$400,000 something. And he wanted to buy a car, some type of Lamborghini. I don't know. It was like $400,000. He's like, should I do it, or should I, blah, blah, blah. And Dave was like, well, pay off the mortgage first, be an adult, but, whatever, you can afford it, but then they all, they're talking finances. But what Dave eventually said, and I'll get to my point finally here, is Dave said, sometimes when I'm thinking about making a purchase that seems big, or, Dave, or if me and what's his wife's name? Sharon, I think. I can't remember. Sharon. Sometimes if me and Sharon are thinking of donating, a large thing of generosity. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll do this exercise called just light it on fire. Let's pretend the amount of money that we're spending, let's pretend we're setting it in the middle of the room and lighting it on fire. And if we did that, would our lives be, affected in a big way? Like, would we miss it? Would be like, oh my God, we're going to miss that money. And if the answer is yes, then we don't do it. And if the answer is no, it means we can afford it, right? So imagine, Packers fans, you light 2 first-round picks, a future second, and a future 5th on fire. Would that really, if you had done that for the last couple of years, would that really make the team that's here considerably worse? It'd make it slightly worse. And for the purposes of the segment, can you just go along with me? Right? If there was no Lucas Van Ness on this team, if there was no Jordan Morgan on this team, if there was no, who's the 4th-round pick 2 years ago? Evan Williams is a bad example, so I'm going to cherry pick. Can't remember, right? But if you take all those guys off this team, are they significantly worse? You'd be lacking some depth, but I would say no. And by the way, this is kind of a straw man argument here, because I don't know that many Packers fans are like, we can't give up too much. Most Packers fans are like, trade every pick. I don't care. But just a Dave Ramsey coded exercise. I thought of that the other night. I don't know that the guy's going to buy the Lamborghini or not. Motors and wheels. I need to listen to some Dave Ramsey. I need to feel better about myself after the show tonight. Let's take a break, 3 minutes. A little bit from Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur on the topic of Micah Parsons and on the topic of roster cutdowns. We'll get to that next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. Gonna hear from Matt LaFleur here in a sec, because the first question and answer in his press conference made me roll my eyes. It's a little Craig Counsell-ish in a way that I don't enjoy. So we're gonna get to that in 2 minutes tops. I do need to rant on something just for a second. I popped open my phone on this commercial break, and I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but I've really been over the last week. I've never experienced it like this before. Over the last week, it's been nonstop. So, you know, sometimes when you visit a business, they ask you for an email. And as someone who works at a business that likes to connect with listeners, to have listener information, so when we have events or when we're doing giveaways, like, don't get me wrong, I understand how it works. Like, customer data is valuable to businesses. You want to keep that data so when you're running a sale or when you're running a special or you're keeping track of how your business is doing, like, that's valuable information. So when a business asks, hey, do you have a good email? Hey, do you have a phone number? Sure. I don't care. I could take it. Okay. I get how it works. Some businesses have taken it a little too far. I'll give you some examples. My flight last week was delayed out of Bozeman. So Sun Country Airlines, sometimes nothing you can do. I'm nothing if not understanding. If you've listened to the show, you get this. Sun Country Airlines gave us a food voucher and put us up in a hotel for the night in Belgrade. Not a ton to do there. We Ubered down to, downtown Bozeman, kicked around for a little while, but right next to our hotel, there's a dispensary. It's legal in Montana. So me and my travel party, we got a long night in a hotel with nothing going on. So we walked over to the dispensary. I wanted to buy a sticker. I wanted to support the local economy, so don't get any ideas. So they asked me for a phone number, whatever. I give it to them. It's been, when did I go? So I've worked all of this week. This would have been last Monday. I swear to God, they've texted me 6 times. Buddy, I don't live in Montana. It was very clear I was a tourist, but even if I lived in Montana, you want to text me like once a month. We're running a sale on seltzer, which a sale on seltzer means one can is like $12 because whoever's making the prices for those things is out of their skull. The weed seltzers, the THC seltzers. This dispensary, it's called like Grizzly something. I don't even remember. I get a text from them every other day. And I'm like, where do you get off? Another example, this is multiple times a day. In fact, I'll pop open my email. I'll count exactly. I wanted to read a story in the Chicago Tribune last week because they had a story about, it was something anti-council. So yeah, I'm going to read that. And it was free to read, which was nice. You get a certain number of articles, but you got to put in an email. Okay, fine. The Chicago Tribune, with all due to local journalism, 6 times a day, 5-6 times a day, I'm getting emails. And I'm like, you guys, I'm trying to work with you. I understand how the game is played. Customer data is valuable. Your reach among your customers is valuable. I don't want to be that curmudgeon. No, I don't want to give out my Gmail as if that's where I keep like the most important communications. No, I can't give out my Gmail. The only thing I use that for is, emailing my family. It's like, no, it's for a bunch of junk. But if you're a business owner and you're doing this to people, I swear, and this dispensary is going to push me over the top. It's every other day. Who's going to a dispensary? I mean, you could, but just buy more, I guess, when you're there. It's very frustrating. Another very frustrating thing. Matt LaFleur was asked about, I think, maybe the biggest surprise of cut down day and the day that followed. They cut Elgersma. They cut Sean Clifford. And I figured Elgersma would be back on the practice squad. And then when we learned that Elgersma wouldn't be back, I figured, well, then they'll keep Sean Clifford, which I don't really like, but okay, fine. Oh no, Clayton Tune, I guess, is going to be their practice squad quarterback. Third stringer. But I thought they saw some good things from Elgersma. They like Sean Clifford. I guess I would have assumed that it would be one of them, and it wasn't. So here's Matt LaFleur being asked about exactly that. This is the first answer in the press conference, the first question and answer, and I think it's from Bill Huber.
So what do you do to get the new quarterback up to speed? Obviously, it's not the same as having Malik in here where you had to kind of give him a crash course into things. But is there pressure to get?
I don't know any new quarterback right now, so until he gets here. I mean, I haven't met him, so it is what it is. We'll try to get him acclimated and integrated as fast as humanly possible.
It's a little whiny, don't you think? Well, I haven't met him yet. I don't know who the new quarterback is.
I don't know any new quarterback right now, so until he gets here.
Really?
I mean, I haven't met him, so it is what it is.
It sounds a little whiny. And it probably is annoying. Like, it probably is frustrating. I don't really understand it. I don't know why they're going out of the organization to get another quarterback. Like, just keep Elgersma. He's been there. You're developing a third string guy anyways. So it's not the end of the world. I don't really get it. And maybe we'll hear from Brian Gutekunst coming up. Maybe there's an explanation. I'm going to pick through the presser. And if not today, then certainly tomorrow. We have a chance to connect with Mike. If not, at the end of the show today, Mike's schedule the practice got pushed back. So he's in the locker room kind of getting information that we can probably use tomorrow. I just don't like the whining. I don't like the whining because I think when a coach whines, the team whines, and whining is not conducive to a productive work environment. And now, before you say, well, Grant, you're really going to be the pot calling the kettle black on this. You've done nothing but whine the last 2 days. I know. I whined about my coworkers eating all the free food yesterday, and now I'm whining about how I'm just getting my email inbox is getting assaulted. But also, my job is to talk. And part of talking is sometimes complaining. I'm either complimenting or I'm complaining. I think the show has been a reasonable mix of both. I don't like my coach to whine. And I always think of Craig Counsell because anytime the Brewers would have a tough stretch in their schedule, you know who'd be the first to talk about it unprompted is Counsell. Oh, we got like 18 games in 19 days now coming up. It's like, okay, Craig, hey, Craig, a little advice. You know what'll make it better? Cry about it. I heard that'll help. And I just know that when the manager is constantly saying that, then that's said in the clubhouse and it settles in and players start to buy into that and think it's a big deal. And then they start whining. So this, to me, this first question and answer about their new quarterback, this is just so whiny.
So what do you do to get the new quarterback up to speed? Obviously, it's not the same as having Malik in here where you had to kind of give him a crash course into things. But is there pressure to get?
I don't know any new quarterback right now, so until he gets here. I mean, I haven't met him, so it is what it is. We'll try to get him acclimated and integrated as fast as humanly possible.
I think Matt LaFleur's a good coach, and I don't think press conferences hold a ton of value. But that's a little peek into. I don't want Matt going back to his office going, "Oh, I gotta get another quarterback up to speed." I don't know, man. You got a quarterback coach. Like, have him do it. It'll be okay. It's not going to be the end of the world. Your practice squad quarterback should not be the reason you're moping into a press conference today. It's a little concerning. I don't like seeing that. 608-321-1670. We'll take a call, then we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Mike in Eau Claire again.
Mike, hey, what's up? No, you're good.
I just had two quick. LaFleur is a good coach. I had 2 quick points. LaFleur is a good coach, but yeah, he needs to watch Pat Murphy and be like, do more what Pat Murphy does.
Yeah, sure.
Don't be. But then the main point I was talking about was the Micah Parsons trade, the $45 million. People that have no business sense aren't really thinking about it properly. Like 2 first-round picks. What do they make? $3 to $4 million a year.
Yeah.
Contracts depending. Second rounder, maybe 1 or 2. I mean, you're trading away. A 5th rounder is peanuts, but you're trading away $10 million in contracts per year. Per year.
Yep.
So you're cutting that $45 million down to 35, maybe even 30 if you send a player. So it's not as drastic of a contract as you might think. You got to trade. You got to do things like that.
I
on
love
something that's proven.
and I completely agree because this team doesn't need proven players, Mike. I appreciate the call. Nice to hear from you again. They need a player or two that can wreck a game. Reggie White in the playoffs in the late 90s. Charles Woodson or Tremont Williams, who got hot, but most notably Clay Matthews forcing that fumble against the Steelers. Like, I don't know that they have that guy. They might. That guy might develop, but I'm not going to chance it. Not with their spot in the division and not with how important of a season this is. I lied. We'll take one more call and then we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, this is Buzz.
Hey, Buzz. What's up?
Hey, first-time caller, but you kind of got me. You started down the road on the quarterback thing, saying, it's just a third-string quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. So why not throw the coach a bone? If we're, why is this all on LaFleur? Camaraderie, it's a big thing in sports. Look at the Brewers.
Yeah.
It's a third-string quarterback. Hey, who's going to get fired first, the GM or the coach?
Probably the coach.
Let's get with the coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. Well, look, both things can be true at the same time here, Buzz. Like, I don't understand why they're getting rid of Elgersma to go to Clayton Tune. Like, are you really looking to upgrade? I understand that. But also, like, I don't want to hear Matt LaFleur cry at the podium. And I mean cry. I don't want to hear him whine.
Fair enough. It's a little bit more public, and if that's your point, I get it. But he shouldn't be up having an opportunity to cry at the podium over a third-string quarterback.
Yeah,
GM's got to get on the page with the coach.
No, I would agree with that. Buzz, where are you calling from?
Madison.
Okay. I had to ask. I'm curious. I'm always curious where people are calling from. Appreciate it, Buzz. Excellent call for your first time. And I think that's a good point. I think you're right. Like, why do we need to circumcise the mosquito? And, we're going to get the third-string quarterback, right? Okay, well, you're developing the guy anyways. You had already started with Elgersma. I get Matt LaFleur's annoyance or frustration. I don't put on a show at the podium, not over that. It's another version of counsel saying, well, now we got 22 games in 23 days. It's like, oh. It's annoying, but also I know that stuff bleeds over to the locker room. I don't like whining. The whining out. Let's take a break here. A couple minutes, we'll be back. We'll continue this discussion next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show. We have a lot to react to today. The show last night was kind of slow. Tonight, it's like, what? Micah Parsons is almost a Packer there for a couple of hours. Brewers, lots of transactions. Badgers back tomorrow. Jesse Temple joined us in hour number 1. So a loaded show. We're lucky enough to catch Mike Clemens. He's been popping in and out of press conferences and practice and locker rooms today. So Mike is joining us now. Mike, between LaFleur and Goody and the locker room, where do you possibly want to start today?
To me, the biggest question I had, and even when we had a long press conference with Brian Gutekunst and a brief one with LaFleur, was the minute I hit that field, I was looking at your left guard and your receiver situation. Because I told you about a week ago, I stayed until they kicked me out for post-practice, and I saw Jordan Love like a week ago today hanging around and being available to throw passes to number 13, Dontavian Wicks, who we had seen doing nothing. I mean, while you got Christian Watson running gassers up and down the sideline as he comes back from an ACL, you've got 13 just standing out there with this calf injury week after week that he suffered early on in training camp. And then I saw him in sweats putting on a helmet and running some crossers at about 3/4 speed. And I thought, oh, see, this guy, he'll be, by next week, he'll be limited. And by the week of the Lions game, I think, he could be a full participant and ready to go for week 1 with this calf injury. So the good news is he was there. And then Jaden Reed, who, 9-10 days ago was out here with a boot on this foot injury. And
there.
Now, he just talked to some of the media. I was across the way talking to some other guys. But Jaden Reed looks like, he was able to practice today. And on offensive line, the most important thing is that Aaron Banks, who you spent all that money on in free agency, was lining up at left guard. He's got a back injury. And, LaFleur, I asked him about it this afternoon. He said, well, he's out there yesterday. So the Packers, they did the roster reductions. Guys were getting phone calls like around the 10 o'clock hour or so. A couple of last-minute decisions before the 3 o'clock deadline. But he said, he was good yesterday. I assume he's going to be able to go today. And he was. He was there in this helmet and short practice today. So those three key figures, to get those back on the field by next week and be able to practice and get ready for the Lions game, that's the kind of supporting cast that Jordan Love's going to need if he's going to beat the Lions.
That's an important housekeeping item. Who's going to be healthy week 1? Okay, so it sounds like we're trending. 2 roster things that caught my eye and my ear. They're really confident with Hobbs, Nixon, Valentine, because I think they got rid of Micah Robinson today, right? So they didn't keep Kalen King. They're not keeping Micah Robinson. So talk about corner for a sec. And then also, they don't go with Elgersmo or Clifford. They're bringing in an outsider, and Matt LaFleur didn't exactly seem psyched about that at the podium today. So those are 2 roster things that struck me.
Right. So, on the secondary front, Nate Hobbs still did not practice, coming back from that, minor knee surgery. Zane Anderson, the safety, still out with his injury. And Savion Williams, the wide receiver, was working on the side. Sorrell, I think Sorrell's going to go on PUP. I'm surprised he's not there yet.
Okay.
But that was kind of fills out what at least I was able to mark down as to who was on the field. But yeah, you're right. The Micah Robinson, the 7th round pick, ended up being released. He'll have to, had to go through waivers to see if they were going to add him yet to the practice squad. But the other guys that they've got, that running back, Israel Abakanda, number 23, who I told you a couple of weeks ago, at least he made practice squad with all of his kick returns. So they got that for depth. They could bring him up if one of those running backs gets hurt. And then they did bring back the veteran, McCole Hardman. He was out there catching passes today. He was still wearing the number 6 out there running routes. It's funny. To me, Hicks and Johnson, those 2 guys with numbers in the 80s, about 6'3", 6'4", I thought they were making some pretty spectacular catches. But one guy told me, Will Shepherd. Well, that's the guy they kept. They're very high, I think, on his, football IQ. He's on the practice squad. And then this guy they brought in just a couple of weeks ago, this Isaiah Nair, who had one practice where he's making incredible catches, and he's 6'4". So in terms of body type and all that, those are the 2 guys, Will Shepherd and Nair, that made the practice squad, whereas, Hicks and Cornelius Johnson did not at this time. And I think one other guy I saw got picked up. Oh, Kalen King, defensive back. He's been around here for about a year. Thought he might make the roster as a backup corner. He did not, and he is now signed with the Panthers, I believe.
On their active roster or on their practice squad, one of the two. It just felt like he was like, okay, screw this. I'm going to go try to start fresh somewhere else. I was a little surprised that Mecole Hardman went through to the practice squad. That kind of felt like an active roster or bust guy, but maybe he doesn't feel great about his job prospects elsewhere. Or maybe he feels that, they're one injury away at wide receiver. They're banged up. I don't know. That was one of the last names that I expected to be on the Packers practice squad of all places.
Well, and I'll tell you what, he just saw a camp where there was, with the injuries that they had at wide receiver, he would have been, if that happened during the season, he would have been the first guy to be called up, right? So, that would have got him back onto a roster. Maybe he likes Green Bay. He's probably making up the $400,000 on the practice squad as a veteran. So, it's not a bad paycheck. And if somebody else out there, some other team calls him and invites him to the roster, sure, he'll be gone, to make, a regular paycheck. But,
sure.
And he wasn't there today, so we didn't have a chance to talk about his decision to accept the practice squad offer. But I'm sure he just thinks, hey, I'm that close to getting back on a roster and being a participant. One guy away. If one guy goes down, then he might get called up into a game. So the guy that I just talked to, who I thought, 2 guys. First of all, Omar Brown. I mean, this is a guy who had made some flashes early in camp. Then on family night, he gets 3 interceptions. To me, I thought they were kind of like bad balls. I mean, just 50-50 balls. And he was making crazy athletic interceptions, okay? As opposed to, calculated jump on the route kinds of things. But they liked it. I mean, they thought it was legit. And obviously they liked his coverage back there as a backup safety. So they put him in the Colts game. And then on a special teams play, he comes up holding his chest, and he was out there, like LaFleur said the other day, for another 12 minutes. And it was damage to his lung. He had a hole in he had a puncture in his lung.
Huh.
And spent 4 nights in an Indianapolis hospital. I got that all on tape. I'm going to play that for you guys tomorrow on the Bill Michaels show and have him just telling his story. And yet they kept him, man. They, that's as tough as they can be. He's had a lot of growth back there at safety. He's talked about, he'll talk about some of the players that have helped him out in, this past year through the OTAs and training camp. And that's a guy who made the roster.
Interesting. Mike Clemens is here. Bay Motel in Green Bay sponsors his appearances. He'll be on with Bill. If not tomorrow, I don't know your schedule the rest of the week, but we're going to dig into Matt LaFleur, Brian Gutekunst, and everything else that comes out of Green Bay. Were you and your fellow scribes, your fellow ink-stained wretches and press box creatures, did you guys talk about Micah Parsons and everything that was kind of flying around the internet last night? Did that come up today?
Yeah, like rolling our eyes. Like,
really?
And you'll hear some questions answered from, Gutekunst about just, all right, we know you're going to talk about Parsons on an individual basis, but, he said before, you don't put all those chips on one player. They tend to like to get groups of players rather than to put that much down,
sure,
on one player. Just one other quick thing before I forget, they've signed this quarterback. Is it Neiman? That's
the linebacker.
Yeah, that's the linebacker. Yeah, the linebacker they picked up, and he wasn't there. Yeah, he had not arrived yet. I couldn't find him out there on the field. And then they've signed a quarterback as well today.
Clayton Tune, I think, is the one, right?
Yeah, he was a draft pick for the Cardinals 2 years ago.
Yep,
and he was free. So they're moving on from Sean Clifford. A couple of years, and then the offense. And Taylor Algersma, who, had a nice arm, but too young. And I got to tell you, reading LaFleur, he's kind of like rolling his eyes. Like
he was pissy about it to start his. I played the sound like 15 minutes ago. He was like, I don't know him yet, but like he was like, I don't know. It was a little theatrical.
You know what that is?
What?
You know what that is? That's the scout saying, "Oh no. This guy was ranked higher. He went higher in the draft than Sean Clifford, a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
we like his arm. Here's the things that he did. When he was at Houston and their program, and it's going to be a fit for us and all this. And that means, yeah, but I got to train this guy. I got to train this quarterback position all over again.
And for what? To have a marginally better emergency quarterback? Like I get his frustration. I just don't want the whining at the podium. I don't want to hear my coach whining because I know that trickles down. I used to have to listen to counsel and be like, "Oh, we got 20 games in 21 days." It's like, okay,
but what is it? What what that tells you?
What's that?
Who's running the show?
Yeah, and I like that.
It's Goody.
I like that.
It's Goody has the roster, and then he hands the roster to the coach, and they say, "Okay, coach, you go coach him."
Right.
That's still in place, ladies and gentlemen.
I am a fan of that. That's good to hear, Mike. I got to run. We will hear from you throughout the rest of the week among the different shows. Who knows when, but we'll figure it out.
Thank you, Grant. Have a good night.
No, you as well, Mike. Thank you. That's Mike Clemens. Thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Let's break now. We'll have a couple of minutes to wrap up the show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
So what do you do to get the new quarterback up to speed? Obviously, it's not the same as having Malik in here where you had to kind of give him a crash course into things. But is there pressure to get?
I don't know any new quarterback right now, so until he gets here. I mean, I haven't met him, so it is what it is. We'll try to get him acclimated and integrated as fast as humanly possible.
What's worse, Matt LaFleur needing to get a new quarterback up to speed, third string quarterback, or Pat Murphy needing to put Eric Fetty into a game tonight? Flip a coin. Cone Roller texts in. This is a funny way to end it. It says, can you give us 60 seconds on your thoughts on Burning Man? I've not followed it closely enough. I have seen that there's like mud and issues getting in and out again. If you go to Burning Man, that's on you. And I would love to go to Burning Man, but the people who go to Burning Man are like tech millionaires with camper vans worth more than my house that I don't own. So if you have enough money to accommodate yourself at Burning Man, you have enough money to deal with whatever comes from that. That's what I would say. A classist remark, sure, but an honest one. Appreciate the call or appreciate the text, Cone. We do have the phone ringing. We're gonna run out of time. I hate cutting callers off, so I just don't want to do it. Tomorrow, we'll dig a little bit deeper. I'm going to pick through Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst's comments a bit more. We'll probably start that process on Bill's show, and I'll kind of pick the 2 or 3 most important things I think to come from the presser. And we'll get to that more deeper tomorrow night. Final Badger preview as well. Maybe we can wrangle one of our Badger friends, whether it be Zach Heilprin or Nick Osen or somebody right before the game. But a good preview from Jesse earlier. If you missed that, I'll post the full thing on the YouTube page, and it'll be available in podcast form. Right, the Wisco Sports Zone app or wherever you get your podcast. Have an excellent night. Enjoy Game 3 of Brewers Diamondbacks. There are 4. Remember, there's 4. Look at your schedule.